Hi, this is Valerie Hector. Welcome to my Ren video course. I want to tell you a little bit about the history of this structure, the Ren, as I'm calling it. For me, it all started when I was in New York City in the early to mid 1990s, and I went to antique shops in Soho. I was just looking around on my day off, and I came across this incredible beaded screen panel. Well, I'd never seen this technique before, and I thought, I want to use that in my work. Long story short, it didn't cost much because, let's face it, it's falling apart. So I brought it home. Years went by and I couldn't figure it out. In the first place, this technique is flat, as it appears here, and I really prefer dimensional techniques for my work for the most part. In the second place, you see all these multiple vertical threads here. Well, this is a plating technique. It's hard to do. It's incredibly hard to do, actually, and time consuming. And I wanted to turn it into a single needle technique, but I couldn't figure out how. All right, I put it away. And all of a sudden, one day, one year, it occurred to me out of the blue that I could make this double-sided. It didn't have to be flat, and I could make a simpler version. This is actually a bit more complex than this here. And I could make it with a single needle. And I started making these, and they worked very well, especially for earrings. Customers love them. Great. When it came to publishing this technique, however, I wanted to name it after a famous Chinese woman. And I chose Ren Xiao. She lived from, I think is it 1362 to 1407 in the early Ming Dynasty in China. She was wearing, in the painting you just saw in the previous slide, she's shown wearing pearl bead lattices stuck into her headdress. We would call them hair sticks nowadays. Well, they frame her face in pearls. They're so beautiful. And they're worked in a technique that's pretty close to this. It's just slightly different. And of course it's flat, hey, but they're pearls. And they're incredibly beautiful. Other Ming Dynasty empresses also had similar pearl bead lattices for hair ornaments. So I named it after Ren Xiao. Of course, I liked it that she was educated. She was an educated woman. She could read and write, and she wrote some biographies of virtuous women, which was a politically intelligent thing to do in her case, but it was also, I think, something she loved doing. So I called this the Ren lattice, okay? So that's the backstory. I want to tell you a couple things in these videos. When you hear me say, you can look at the instructions, page 4, for instance, what I'm referring to is the Ren lattice pattern instructions that you can download for free on my website, valeriehector.com. Just look for the patterns department, scroll down, and find the Ren lattice patterns. They're free, okay? And so they accompany these videos, but you don't need them. You don't absolutely have to have them. It's the videos that really will help you make your first Ren, okay? The other thing is I'm not doing kits anymore, so if you hear me in these videos, refer to kits. I'm not offering kits anymore. Why? Because I love making videos and they're easier, okay? So if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe to this channel. I have so many ideas for upcoming videos, like hundreds, okay? Literally, things I want to share with you, techniques, and also videos on beading history, beading cultures. I really want to show the faces of beaders from other beading cultures, okay? Comment, ask questions. I answer, usually within a day or two, okay? Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you in the next video. So let's talk about the different sizes of Ren lattices that you can make. Here are 3, but there are many, many more after this. All of these are symmetrical, but you can also make asymmetrical or irregular Ren lattices. Here is the 9x4x8. The 9 means there are 9 cubic right angle weave cubes in this structure. You make them first, okay? The 4 means that there are 4 windows. The 8 means that the windows are encircled by, they're framed by 8 beads each, okay? So this is the 9, 4, 8. And this is the 9, 4, 12. 9 cubic right angle weave cubes, 4 windows, each window framed by 12 beads. This is the 16 by 9 by 12. So 16 cubic right angle weave cubes, 9 windows, and each window is framed by 12 beads, okay? So I have made 3 videos, sets of videos, one for each of these structures. And I encourage you to go on and create other structures, you know, do riffs like a jazz musician does a riff on a structure. Do something different, do something that's just your own, that's unique, okay? Play with them, have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. The 16, 9, 12 Ren lattice, preparing your cubes. Now for every 16, 9, 12 Ren you're going to make, you want to prepare 16 right angle weave cubes. These are just regular old right angle weave cubes. There's nothing special about them except that you're only going to reinforce them halfway, okay? Let them be just a little bit squishy. It's okay. You've got to leave some room in the holes of the beads to go on to incorporate these cubes into a Ren lattice, okay? So it can be hard. It's hard for me at times to stop myself from reinforcing them all the way, which is my normal tendency. I do it without even thinking about it. So check yourself, you know, reinforce them somewhat, but let them be somewhat squishy. It's okay. These are 4mm Czech Fire Polish beads. I have stitched them with a size 10 beading needle, but because they're glass, I'm now going to drop down to a size 12 beading needle because I don't want to break any of the beads, and I want to have as much room as I can in the beads for the needle. If I use a size 10, it's going to get tight at times. Now, having laid these out into a beautiful diamond pattern, well, it was beautiful. I'm going to set them aside in this pattern on my workbench so that I know how many are left as I start stitching them into a Ren lattice, especially when there are this many. It's nice to know, okay, how many have I already stitched and how many do I have to go? So I will even work from the top. I'll start here, I'll go there and there, and then I'll know exactly how many are still left to add on. And it gets to be a very intuitive process where you really will not need instructions after you make your first Ren, probably even before you're finished making your first Ren, okay? So I'll see you in the next lesson. They're wobbly, they're wimpy, they're squishy, probably, hopefully perfectly so that we won't run into any beads that have holes that are blocked with thread. But we'll find out, right? So, as you know, the 16 by 9 by 12 has 16 right angle weave cubes. It has 9 windows, and each window is framed by 12 beads. Now, you could make a 16 by 9, 12 as a 16 by 9 by 8. You could have only 8 beads per window, right? So it wouldn't be quite as large as this one is going to be. But I really like the openness, you know, the airiness of this structure. But just so you know, you have options. Now, I'm not going to I'm not going to knot anywhere because I really want to have maximal room in all of my beads. I'm just going to string through, get into position by going through the first bead. This is the south bead in cube number 1. Now, when creating a Ren, we always stitch through the beads at the 4 directions, always, and always in the ceilings of the cubes, okay? Not the walls. We only go from ceiling to ceiling, okay? So this is the south bead in cube 1. This is the east bead in cube 2. This is the north bead in cube 3, and this is the west bead in cube 4. Okay, so that's how we're going to remember. Every time, every space here, we're going to be adding 2 beads, 2 beads, 2 beads, 2 beads, 2 beads. Add 2, go through this, add 2, go through this, add 2, go through this, add 2, and then reinforce. Now, you can stitch counterclockwise like I'm doing. You can stitch clockwise. You can stitch in a combination. You can do whatever you want. Your mission is to create 9 windows, framing each window with a ring of 12 beads. Excuse me. And you don't need to count out your beads or anything. This is such an easy technique, a straightforward technique, that you kind of can't go wrong. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to string the first 2 beads. And you know what I'm going to take, we're only using 4 cubes right now. So I'm going to take these other guys and set them off to the side, keeping them all together so that as the pile of these cubes dwindles little by little, I'll know how many more cubes are left to add. Okay, but we're just working with 4. I'm going to try as much as I can not to block your view of the REN, of the work with my hands. At some points, I'm going to have to, though, do that. So please forgive. All right, inevitably. All right, good. Now, every time in the beginning, after every stitch, I reorient the cubes. I try to make the ceilings face up towards the sky, right? They tend to want to cave in like that, and it looks weird, and it's going to cause trouble if we keep stitching with a cube in that position. All right, add 2 beads. Go through the north bead in this cube, cube 3. Oops, we fell down again. Okay, or reorient. Always, especially in the beginning, reorient your cubes. Make sure the ceilings are pointing up to the sky. Okay, let's go through this one. Or reorient it. Reorient everybody here, making sure we're always stitching through the ceiling beads. Okay, add 2 beads. Go through this bead. Great. At this point, I'm going to pull out on the tail thread with one hand and the working end of the thread with the other hand. That will tighten this ring. I'm also going to get into the habit of just quickly double checking, do I really have 12 beads in this ring? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, I do. That's great. Okay, our next goal is to reinforce this ring by going through every bead in the ring and then navigating down here. So we're into position to add the next 2 cubes here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh, heck, I'll pick it up. I hope you can still see it well. I'm going to pull as I work, kind of tighten things up that way too. And here we are back at the first bead. Now I hope we don't get our first roadblock here. We'll see. We're always trying to avoid breaking a bead because we're working with glass beads. These are 4mm fire polish. If you're working with metal beads, any kind of metal, you don't have to worry that you're going to crack a bead. It's almost, well, It's almost impossible with this structure. All right, now, as I said, we're going to navigate down through this bead and this and this and this to get into position to add the next 2 cubes. Okay. There we go. It is at times really handy to have a tail thread because it helps you reorient yourself, right? I can remember, okay, which direction am I working in just by setting up the tail thread where I started with it being, so to speak. You know what I mean. All right, now we're adding 2 more cubes like this. And so we're going to add 2 beads and then go through the east bead in this cube, which is, we'll call it this bead. Okay, great. And then we're going to add 2 beads and go through this bead. It's a north bead in the ceiling of this cube. Always the ceiling, as I said. Okay, add 2 beads. Go through the west bead in this cube. All right, so that wasn't too hard. Of course, we have to get back to here to say that our ring is truly complete. Great. And now we're going to reinforce this ring. Hopefully we can get back through all of these beads here like this, and then we can navigate down somewhere and add the next 2 cubes right here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go down. And around. Okay, good. Let's pull a little bit, try to tighten. Good. All right, so I still have to get through this bead. Set up the ceilings, make sure we're working on the same level, right? There have been times when I've started stitching, instead of the ceiling, I've started stitching a wall, and of course it's just not good. Let's see if this bead will let us go through. Yeah, it will. Okay, great. Now, we're going to navigate down again. Let's come out this bead. Plan to go right to left, coming out of this bead to add the next 2 cubes. Good. I'm going to reorient. Make sure, does everything look right? Yeah, it does. Okay. And we're in position now to create the next window. This is window 3 of our 9 windows. Okay. We've done this before, and so we know what to do. We're going to add 2 beads, and we're going to go through the east window in this cube here. Excuse me, the east bead, not the east window. All right, and then we're going to add 2 beads. We're going to go through the north bead in this cube. Flip it into the right position. because it may want to flip out. All right, add 2 beads. And we're going to go through the west bead in this cube here. All right, flip them all into the right position. Make sure we're working ceiling to ceiling. All right, so now in order to close this ring, we have to go through 3 beads, this, this, and this. After that, we're going to keep going around and reinforce this ring. And then we're going to navigate into position to add the next 2 cubes. See this? Really the hardest part of any Ren is creating the cubes, I think. Because it's kind of tedious, right? And you know that the outcome, the final result, is still kind of far away. Whereas at this point, we're clearly creating a Ren here. It's starting to look like a Ren. It's looking pretty good. Let's figure out how to get it back into position. Okay, I always like to know where am I. I like to keep the same working position. So I'm going diagonally on the diagonal on the left side of the Ren. I like to keep it that way. Return to that as sort of a base camp. Okay, you can see, maybe you can see the sun is coming through a skylight above me. I hope it's not too distracting for you. I'm going to move the work down a little bit. Now we're going to go through this. We're still reinforcing this ring, and we're navigating up to where we can add the next window. All right. Now to fully reinforce this ring, we still have to go through this and this and this and this. I am wondering if this bead will let us, and I'm also wondering, is it worth it, right? What else could we do? I'm thinking, should we change horses in midstream? Oh, let's go up here. And we're going to sacrifice a little bit of reinforcing, right? For the ability to work our way around. I don't know. I feel like those beads are too loose. I take that back. I'm gonna go around because I want these windows to be well reinforced. Okay, so no sacrificing, I guess. Let's see. Can we get out? Can we go through? Can we go through this bead, or is it unwise? No, I think we can. All right, so I'm reinforcing again this ring, which is okay. If I wanted to, I could start working right here. There's no reason why not. But so that you guys can stay oriented, because this might well be your first Ren, I am going to keep the setup we had. Okay. All right. Now, let's reorient. Good. Okay. Everything is looking just fine here. Now, 2 things. I could go up here, whoops, and around and build this way, or I could go down here and build this way. I'm going to go down here because it's right close by. There's no reason not to. And I'm going to introduce our next 2 cubes. Here they are. Okay. Double check again. Make sure everything looks okay. Yeah, everything looks okay. All right, so we know that we're going to add 2 beads. I don't know how this black bead got in here. Let's take it out. Okay. Add 2 beads. And we're going to go through the north bead in this cube here. I hope it's, if I feel like I'm getting a bead it has a hole that's full of, like too full of thread, I'm not going to choose that bead. I'm going to go through a different bead. Okay. Add 2 beads. go through the west bead in this cube. Reorient. And what are we going to do next? Add 2 beads. And go through the south bead in this cube. Okay, reorient and check. Do we have 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, we do. Okay, so we're really okay. But we really haven't closed this ring, have we? So let's go back down through here. Let's go through here. Through here. And I'm hoping this bead will let us go through just one more time. Oh, it will. Great. And now I'm going to reinforce. And we have to remember, where did we start this? Where did we start this, building this ring again? We started from this bead here. So we have to get down to this bead again and then navigate up, 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 up till we're here. We can add another cube here or go this way. Either way is fine. But you see how fast this structure goes together when you've made your cubes. Okay. Can we get one more time through this? Well, yeah, we're really lucky today. So far, we're not having roadblocks, but we probably will at some point. Good. All right. Now, before I make this next stitch, I'm going to ask myself, well, which way am I going to go? I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm going to add the next cube. Okay. Good. Reorient, double check. Yeah, everything looks fine here. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 windows in place out of our 9 windows. This 5th window is going to be the center of the whole structure. Okay. Let's add a cube. And let's go through the west bead in that cube. Let's reorient. Add 2 more beads. And go through the south bead in this cube. Okay. And we're going to reinforce. We're going to first close this ring. And then we're going to, we started that ring here, so we got to get all the way down to here. And then we're going to reinforce. We're going to go all the way around. Hopefully we can. And then we're going to navigate up here and form the next window. Okay. And I'm pulling fairly tightly now. Good, good, good. Let's reorient. I feel like I'm getting lost. Okay. Looking good. We'll just keep reinforcing. And it's inevitable at some point I forget how much I've reinforced and how much is left. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through these beads. and go through this again, and then I'm really going to pull. And I'm going to try to go through this. Now, is this getting dicey? Yeah, this is dicey. I'm not going through this bead. What am I going to do instead? I am going down through a wall bead that's just below it. I'm taking a detour around that problem bead and navigating back over. Any way you can get into position to navigate, to skip this bead, right? Whatever magic tricks you have to do to take a detour around that bead, you do it, okay? And detours are opportunities to be creative and resourceful. All right, here we go. We're done reinforcing that ring of 12 beads. We're getting into position to create the next ring. All right, and I think everything is looking pretty good here. Let's add 2 beads and introduce our next cube. We're going to go through the west bead in this, the ceiling of this cube, and we're going to add 2 beads, okay, and go through the south bead in the ceiling of this cube. Now my thread is just about worn out, and you know, I didn't think to prepare a second thread, so I'm going to have to take a minute to do that. And I think while I'm doing that, I will tell you a little bit about the history of this class of techniques. All right. So far as I know, there's a lot we don't know about the beadwork of the past. There's only a little bit that we do know. So I'll tell you the little bit that I do know. I'm just going to stitch a little more until this thread is kind of mostly exhausted. Dicey. I think I'll go through this one instead, and then I'll pull and I'm going to snip. All right, so as I'm preparing a new thread here, I'm going to tell you what little I know about the history of this class of techniques. Lattice techniques, I've called them. That's a very casual name. It's not a scholarly name at all, but it'll work. All right, so there is a well, in 2006, I was lucky to be able to study in person a small beaded hair ornament. It's like a little square or rectangular bag, and it's made of this kind of lattice approach, I studied it in China, in the city of Zhejiang. I think is it in Jiangsu province or Jiangxi? I can't remember. Anyway, it's a long time ago. It was a hair-raising car ride to get from my hotel out to the tiny, tiny museum. It's called the Zhou Family Museum. Some archaeologists found a tomb or a set of tombs belonging to the Zhou family in this little town, Zhejiang. And I forget how, somehow in an obscure Chinese book, I came across a blurry photo of this bag, and I said, oh, it's got beaded. It's from the 14th century. Or is it? No, yeah, that's right. No, wait, sorry, 13th century. I've got to go see it. Made a lot of arrangements. Hired an interpreter, I think, and was able to see it, okay? Couldn't believe it when I was sitting in front of it, because the black and white lousy, forgive me, but lousy black and white photo, better than no photo at all, but the photo in the book did not show the technique. And the two different authors who have, excuse me, diagrammed the technique represented it as a diamond lattice, right? It's not a diamond lattice. When I sat down in front of the piece, I was astounded. It's a octagonal lattice, right? So this tomb, this woman's tomb, was found, I forget when, in the 70s, I want to say. And then I forget how they figured out that she died in 1279 AD. So this little pearl net scent bag, hair ornament thingy, tiny, tiny thing, was, I guess, in her possession or in her tomb when she died in 1279 AD. That's how old this class of techniques is in China. Not to say that there aren't other lattice techniques in the world like this, or like of this same class, that I just don't know about or that haven't survived, you know, for us to go look at them. All right, so we have 6 windows in place. We need to add 3 more. By now, you see it's going to be a very easy and fast proposition. I'm going to go in. I don't know where to start. We could start anywhere. Why don't we start from the bottom? I don't know why that feels like a good place to start right now. Okay. So again, I'm going to snip the first tail thread so that now we have a new thread to orient ourselves by. Okay. Like that. And I'm going to go through these 2 beads here. And then I'm going to go over through, is this the correct bead? Well, it kind of must be the correct bead. Yes, I want to get through this bead, assuming it will let us. Now, yeah, it will let us, but, or should I go through this one? No, excuse me, I should go through this one. Great. Now, we're going to be adding 2 cubes, right? And then there will be only 2 left to add. Okay, so now I'm working in a clockwise direction. Earlier I mentioned to you, you can work clockwise, counterclockwise, it really doesn't matter, as long as you're creating rings of 12 beads every single time and not cracking any beads. Okay, we're going to go through the west bead in this cube. I'm going to set it down and reorient. Okay, looks good. We're going to go through, going to add 2 beads, and this is a really floppy cube. We'll see if it holds up. All right, something is awry here. All right, we're going to reorient, pull. All right, we have to add 2 beads now. We'll go through the bead that we started from here. Good. Reorient, check, check. All right, looking good. So now we're going to reinforce this ring by going all the way around here and around here. Then we're going to navigate up and maybe we'll go through this bead and then work on the next window. All right, is this going to be a problem bead? I'm not sure. Yeah, this is totally a problem bead. I am going to go down through a wall bead. See this? Can you see this wall bead here? I'm going to navigate over through this floor bead here, go back up through another wall bead, and skip the problem bead altogether. Okay, that's our detour. So that bead doesn't get reinforced exactly, but its neighboring beads do. And that'll have to be good enough for this structure, and it will be. So I'm reinforcing this window. Go up through here. Okay. Anyway, the people at this tiny museum, the Xiao Family Museum, were happy to have a foreign researcher come and study their collection. I studied the Chinese, the little scent bag, the pearl knit scent bag I just talked to you about that was in octagon stitch. And then I studied a different hair ornament too. They were very honored and happy to have a foreign guest, and I was honored and happy to be there. And see here, I'm going to take the same detour. Right? So after my visit, someone had arranged a banquet at a nearby banquet hall. And like, I mean, everybody in the museum, the staff of the museum, very small museum, and friends of the staff and family members of the staff, and literally everybody's neighbor was present in this huge banquet room. And they gave me the seat of honor, I learned many years later, which is facing the door. And then they kept getting me to drink baijiu, which is a very strong, liquor, alcohol. It got to me, I took one sip and I thought, this is grain alcohol. And I just couldn't go on. And of course, the men, not the women, kept on drinking their baijiu, and all throughout the luncheon. And the @1 delicacy on the menu was, frogs, okay? And, well, I'll just end there. And at that point, I think I lost my appetite, but I was so honored that they wanted to celebrate my very modest project of looking at beadwork. Anyway, I survived. And look, here we only have 2 windows left to create. Okay, and we're already in position to add 2 beads and string our next cube. Add 2 beads and go through this. Hopefully, will let us. And there we go. Okay, we now have 8 windows in place. This is looking good. All we have to do is circle around back to where we started, and then reinforce, and then navigate up somewhere to add our final cube. And so I hope you agree that really the hardest part of this structure is making the cubes. Are we going to have trouble with this guy? I can't remember if this guy gave us trouble last time or not. Oh no, we can do it. Okay. Keep going around. Okay, it's nice when we can go through 4 beads at once. Let's pull a little. Great. I do think we want to reinforce gingerly going through some of these beads. Okay, down here. So after an incredibly hair-raising 2-hour car drive back to wherever I was staying in the hotel, maybe it was an hour and a half, because you know Chinese men drive very, 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 very quickly on the highway. I didn't think I was going to survive that car ride, but I did. And I was just very, very happy to have discovered the truth behind this grainy black and white photo. And I was happy to know that the Chinese have been doing pretty advanced techniques for so long. All right, talk no more. I cannot get, this might be extremely ill-advised. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't want to attempt it. So I'm going to take my detour. I'm going down through a middle bead. It's a wall bead. I'm going to navigate over, asking myself, okay, which direction am I going in again? I want to get back up to here, okay, and so I'm going to go through here, go up through a wall bead, and then complete the detour. There we go. And then, did I just go in the wrong direction? Why do I have the feeling that I did? Probably too much talking. Yeah, probably too much talking. Sorry, guys. Let's try a different technique. See if we can go through these guys and navigate around. Not confident. Okay, let that be a lesson to me. Don't talk. All right. While you're beading, do not reminisce. I don't know. This is extremely dicey. Let's just, oh, we made it. Boy, we got lucky. Lucky, lucky. Whoops. All right, no more China stories. We're going to finish this, the top side of this Ren lattice. All right, great. We have only one window left to add. And as usual, we have our choice. We can go up this way and add this way, or we can just add through here, which is what I'm going to do. Assuming I can get through this bead without cracking it. Yeah, I guess it'll be okay. That's good. Go over through here. All right, add 2 beads. And then we've got our last cube waiting for us, okay? Go through this bead. This too is a very wobbly cube. All right, we're gonna reorient in just 1 second. What is going on here? Okay, that's okay. Go through this bead and pull. Nice. All we have to do now is complete this ring and then reinforce it. And then we're ready for the next step, which is to reinforce the edges, or to stitch all the way around the edges of this structure. Good. Now I think this is is this a problem bead? I don't remember. Or a bead in this position was a problem in the past. Okay. Good. Little reinforcing. Yeah, I'm not going to risk that bead, no way. What if we circle around it in a different way? Is it an option even? See, I'm going around the outside of the ceiling instead of going down through the middle. Right? There are many ways to take detours. You just take the detour that makes the most sense to you. pull the thread. Pull it tightly. Okay. Pull again. See, I think that this cube was so weak that it's actually starting to come apart. Okay, now that's too loose, right? But I'm going to repair it. It won't be hard to repair. I don't know how we prevent that because we've got to keep our cubes loose. I am going to, for now, stitch around the ceiling of this cube really quick. And you know, it's good for you to say what happens in the real world when we go to make our Rens. You know, stuff happens. Because it's not theory, it's reality. All right. Yep. All right, now what's really needed, however, is to go over through this bead. You know, it's nice that the cube didn't fall all the way apart, because if it had, it would be a little bit harder to deal with. So I'm reinforcing the problem cube, but not too much because we still have to add the bottom layer, right? So just enough to keep it together. Good. So I'm down here, I'm going to go up through here, over through here, and I'm going to pretend that everything is okay, which I think it is. Okay, little reinforcing. And then we're going to navigate to an edge, any edge, doesn't matter which edge, doesn't matter which bead, in order to get into position to add the bottom layer. Okay. Looking good. Problem bead. Let's try this one. Also a problem bead. Okay, when in doubt, let's go down. Okay, go over, go down, over, and up. And then let's go up. All right, let's do just a little more reinforcing. Okay, and then let's go down through this one. I'm getting in position to add the bottom layer. Okay, so that's how we look on the top now. I've come down through a wall bead. You don't have to in this step, but I've just done it. I'm going to flip it over. All right, now I'm going to check my thread. This is how much thread I have. I'm going to say it's about 14 inches. I don't think that's enough to add the entire bottom layer. So at this point, I'm going to reinforce a little more, just a little more, and then snip this and add a new thread. I'll make it be coming out this way, the south bead in this cube. Okay? Anyway, I will see you in the next video. There we go. Okay. Now the bottom side is a mirror image of the top side. Okay, so we're just going to repeat everything we did to make the top side. In other words, we're going to add 2 beads into every open space here and create windows that are framed by rings of 12 beads. Okay, and as I said in the last video, any path, any thread path you want to take to build these 9 windows, you can do it. Oh, look, another errant bead. Okay, that's fine. You can work right to left to right, clockwise, counterclockwise, combination, mixture, it doesn't matter. As long as you are creating 9 windows that are framed, each of which is framed by a ring of 12 beads. You do whatever you want, okay? So to get started here, you know the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to snip off our old tail because we don't need it anymore. And we've got this new tail in place representing the new thread. And so if we have to orient ourselves, we can use that. Now from here, things should go pretty easily and pretty quickly, I'm hoping. In theory, anyway, right? Okay. Now we don't really have to check that well, we do still have to kind of check that we're always going through a bead in the ceiling of our cubes, the top sides that face the sky, okay? It is easy sometimes to go through a wall bead instead and then discover that that's totally wrong. It can be very hard to cut or retrace your steps, undo your steps, right? In this structure. Oops, our amoeba lost some beads, but that's okay. We'll put them back. Go out here. All right. This is a bead amoeba. Or maybe there's a bead pond. How about a bead pond? A pond of beads. A small pond of beads. Okay. So let's get this on here. Looking good. All right, we're going to add 2 more beads. Go through the south bead in this cube. Okay. Pull on the tail thread and the working end of the thread to tighten this ring. And now we're going to reinforce it. We're going to go all the way around this way and then navigate down, down, down to come out this bead, right? All right, it will make it easier for me to pick this thing up. I'm hoping we won't encounter roadblocks, but if we do, there's a good things to learn about, you know. Tighten again. Go through these 2. Maybe even go through 3. Got lucky. Good. Go through the next 2 or 3. Ooh, we have, is that the same cube that was coming loose last time? All right, we're going to have to pause and reinforce this cube, which I beaded so loosely that it's now falling apart. However, I kind of think better it be falling apart than we have to keep circumventing roadblocks, okay? Not the end of the world. Whoops. Good. All right. Maybe that cube will be content for a while now. Good. Okay. Is this bead too full of thread at this point? Can we risk it? I think it might be okay. Okay, we got lucky. And now what are we doing? Let's pause and figure out what we're doing. Well, we can either go through this bead and add more beads this way. We can go through these 2 and add more this way. I think just for the heck of it, and to extra reinforce these 2 beads here, I'm going to take the other way. All right. Also, I want you to learn that there are many ways to stitch this structure. Great. All right. So the first of our 9 windows is in place. It's completely done. Let's add 2 beads and go through the north bead in this cube. And add 2 beads. Go through the east bead in this cube. Add 2 beads. And go through the south bead in this cube. And then keep going, work our way around. Pulling fairly tightly each stitch. Good. A little more reinforcing here. Good. And keep going. And now we'll go through this bead, and then we'll set everything down, and we'll make a plan as to where we're going to go next. Okay. We could certainly go down through this one and then add 2 beads. We could also cross over here. It doesn't really matter, right? So I'll go down through this one. Add 2 beads. Go through the north bead in this cube. And go add 2 beads. Go through the east bead in this cube. Add 2 beads. And go through the south bead in this cube. Great. Okay, so here we're back where we started to build this ring. So we need to reinforce this ring before we get into position to add the next ring. All right, now if we can get through this bead without cracking it. No, we can't. All right, detour. See, I'm going down through the middle, through a wall bead, going over through a floor bead if I can, hoping I can. No, I can't. Okay, so this is an interesting situation. What can we do here? We want to get over here somewhere, okay? Right now we're here somewhere. We're blocked here. So, like, what else could we do? Certainly we could snip. Let's try. Can we get it through this? No, we can't. Okay. Well, since the thread is already pretty well caught up in here and I'm not worried about it, I'm going to snip it and start with another thread. Okay. It isn't worth our time, you know, after a certain point to try too hard to do the impossible. I do have a second thread ready. Okay. So I think we can pretty much cut, can we cut off this tail? Or should we leave it on just a little while? Yeah, let's leave it on. Because when we reinforce the edges, this will probably get a little bit more, that tail become a little more secure than it is right now. Now we have options. We can actually go into any bead here, it doesn't matter which bead, and start creating the next windows. 3 windows are in place, 6 to go. Oh, I don't know. Hey, let's start over here. And I'm going to snip off just a little bit of this tail thread so we don't get confused as to where we started here. Good. Now, let's go down through these guys. Down through this. And let's add 2 beads. Oh, our amoeba is falling apart. I mean our pool, our pond. Our pond of green beads. Good. And now we're going to add 2 beads. Go through this bead. And I'm going to tug now. I'm going to tug on the tail and the working end to tighten this. And now I'm going to go back through this ring and reinforce it. Okay, making progress here. Good. Now, where are we heading? We can go down here, 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 and then flip around to here, or flip around to here. It doesn't matter. I think I'll go here, just for the heck of it. And again, the videos do not reproduce the print instructions. And we have a roadblock here. And the videos don't reproduce the print instructions for a reason. Because the print instructions are all about theory. And the videos are about reality. What actually happens when you try to stitch a Ren. So I want to teach you, in the videos, I want to teach you the principles and the concepts and the strategies instead of the hard, math of the matter. There we go. Okay, we navigated that roadblock, I think. Or did we not? Now we ran into another roadblock. That's actually kind of funny. What should we do here? I don't know. Very interesting. There's no hope for getting through that bead. So no hope probably for getting through that bead. What else could we do? Well, try again. Yeah, try again. It will be a miracle if we can get through this bead, however. I don't think we can. Okay, well, just gonna have to be extra resourceful. Let's flip this over, reorient, figure where we are, and figure where we want to go. Okay, right now we're in the bottom. We want to come over to here. We want to end up over here or over there. How can we get there? Is there any way we can possibly get ourselves into the right position? Well, I think we can do it, yeah. Okay, so we lucked out somehow. I'm not quite sure how. And I think we're reinforced, aren't we? Or are we not? Well, since I'm not sure, and since we can get through this bead, let's go around a little more. Let's pull. Now, is there any, yeah, we can still do it, but we know that if we head in that direction, we're going to hit more roadblocks. Where do we want to go next? Well, we can go over here, or we can go here. Now, I'm going to teach you a little way to cheat, which is to navigate around the edges when you're really having trouble. Navigate along the edges, okay? And this will be like you're reinforcing the edges a little bit in advance. This is just another kind of detour around the edges. Okay, where are we now? Where do we want to be? Reorient. Okay, we are making progress. We're going to end up hopefully coming out this bead, hopefully. And if we keep going, we can probably do that. Yeah, we made it. Good, phew. All right, now, we're gonna go through this bead, to go around this, and then add this window, all right? Great. All right, add 2 beads. Go through the north bead in this cube. Oops. Oops, sorry. Okay. Add 2 beads. Go through the west bead in this cube. Pull. Add 2 beads. Go through this bead. Go through this. Pull. Nope. All right, good, we got through that. Good. All right, now we have to decide where are we going next. Down through this one, and then through this one, and then build this one, or down through this and then over through this and then build this way. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's your pick. Trying to think which fills up the least bead holes. I think it's this way, but I'm not sure. All right, add 2 beads. Go through this bead. Add 2. Go through this one. Add 2. Go through this one. Close the ring. Pull. All right, this is the bead we started from, so here we're closing this ring. Now we're going to reinforce this ring. We'll try to get through this. Yeah, we lucked out. We really lucked out. Okay, now we're in position to add the center ring, which can be added at any point in time. You could even start with the center ring if you wanted to. All right, there's really only 2 beads left to add in this ring. So let's go through this guy. And then these 2. And this one. And let's add 2 beads. We're doing a little reinforcing of the center ring, center window. As you can see, we're running out of thread, so I'm going to have to prepare a 3rd needle, which I just forgot. I've never, well, it's been a while since I've made a Ren this large. So I forgot how much thread they take up, right? They take up a lot. Yeah, I'm going to snip it there. Okay, and I will tell you a story as I'm preparing the next thread. This will be a different story, not relating to China. Okay, we have 2 windows left to add. They're going to go really quickly, and pretty soon, assuming you want to wear your Ren or your Rens, you're going to be wearing them. Okay, or you can give them to a friend. But it might be hard after you put so much work in to give them away. All right, so many years ago, this is in Chicago. I was driving, I don't remember what street, some, boulevard, I don't know, in urban traffic. And it was a regular sunny day, nothing special. And I saw that hanging from the rear view mirror of the driver ahead of me, I saw a Turkish beaded ornament called a mashallah, or mashallah, which means it was inscribed. Well, I didn't know at the time that it was inscribed with the word mashallah, which means something like may God so will it, or may God bring it about, or something like that. But I knew the type of ornament, and I had always wanted one, okay? But never had one. This was in the days before the internet, so you couldn't just type in Turkish beaded hanging ornament. You had to like ask friends who knew friends who, I don't know, whatever. I just never got one, and I really, really wanted one. So unfortunately, while I was noticing this amazing, I knew right away what it was. I rear-ended the guy. Okay, just a little bit, just a tap, and he got out of the car. He was so angry. I said, "Oh, sir, I'm just so sorry, but your mashallah caught my eye, and I didn't pay attention to my driving. He said, what do you mean? I said, you're hanging your rear view mirror ornament. He said, oh, that? You rear-ended me over that? I said, well, it's, you know, it's an amazing thing. Is there any way I could buy it from you? He got even angrier. He got back in his car and he drove away. I think he was probably shaking his head. Okay, where are we going to go in here? And that's the end of that story. Anyway, years later, my friend Ani Afshar brought me back a very cool mashallah from Turkey. She herself is Turkish. And then I had one, and then I was very happy. And then a couple of years after that, I got another one. So now I have like two. I'm very happy. And I don't go around rear-ending people. Unless they have some really cool piece of beadwork hanging from their rearview mirror. All right, what should we do here? Let's go in here. We have only 2 windows left. Almost done. Okay, our pond is leaking. It'll take a minute. All right, I'm just circling around the beads that are already in place. Good. Okay. Very nice. Not much to go here. Let's add 2 beads. And to go through this bead here. Add 2 beads. Go through this bead. Good. Now we're going to reinforce, okay? Yep. Good. And here we are, back where we started, okay? Good. Tug on this, wonderful. Now, we have to navigate up to the final window. And the final window, we're down here, and the final window is all the way up here. Now, we know that we'll hit roadblocks if we go this way, most likely. What is the safest way to travel? Knowing that anyway, we have to reinforce the edges. I'm going to take an edge route now, okay, to navigate upwards. Instead of taking an interior route. An edge route is so much easier. And it does some anticipatory reinforcing, which is good. Okay, get the tail out of the way. So I'm heading from down here to up here, or up here. As I said, the edge beads tend to be a lot less full of thread. And so for that reason, you can just use them to take a detour much more easily. Okay, good. While also reinforcing the edges somewhat. Well, I guess at this point, we don't even have to go down again. We can go over and up. See, now we're in position to add 2 beads and then go through 2 beads. Okay, Let's add 2 beads. Then let's go through this bead. Now this cube seems to me really rickety, really floppy, so I am going to take a moment and I am going to reinforce it a little. Yeah, look at how floppy and wobbly. But it's good for you to see these things. It's the real world. Okay, good. It's a little more reinforced. After I build the entire structure, I would probably go back in with a size 12 needle and do a little more reinforcing, do some touch-up reinforcing here. If I were working with metal beads, things would probably be easier because I wouldn't have to worry about breaking a glass bead because the beads would be metal. See, there we go. All right. All we have to do now is reinforce this ring. And then we're going to navigate over to the edges once again to get into position to reinforce the edges, or to stitch through the edges, or stitch around the edges. Ooh, this is a very interesting difficulty here. All right. Part of what's so fun about beadwork is we're forced to be creative constantly, you know, to work out issues. See, this is very, 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 very loose. Let's tighten it now. And we'll keep tightening it more as we go around. So the teardrop has really gotten caught up in here. Just seems like it should be very easy to fix. Okay, there we go. We're going to keep navigating around. I'm going to do a little more reinforcing on this cube because I just am worried about it. Okay, then I'll go down through here and over through here. Concerned about that, so I'm going to navigate down through a wall bead or a bead in the middle layer and then navigate over, assuming I can. I should probably have checked first. Yeah, I can't. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to navigate to an edge. And I'm on the bottom right now, but you know, that's okay. Interesting. Well, maybe I take that back. Maybe I go back. I tried it. I can't go back up through the bead I came out of. All right, fine. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, well, I'm tempted to snip the thread, but then I'm telling myself, no, there has to be another way. There has to be. Okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to snip the thread, okay, knowing that I can go back in and do more reinforcing if needed. but also knowing that we're pretty well reinforced as is, okay? And that as we stitch the edges together, everything will get even more reinforced, okay? The things that are floppy and wimpy. This is pretty solid, a pretty solid structure here in the interior, which is what we really want. I don't know what that little thread is doing there. It does seem kind of curious as well. We'll have to zap that or snip that later, okay? But as I said, we're pretty firm in the center, and that's what we want. Now we're going to make it firm at the edges, okay? So I'll see you in the next video. Now, as you'll recall, in the last video, I kind of got stuck somewhere in the middle, and I had too many roadblocks, so I finally just snipped off the thread. I did that because there was just no way to navigate anymore, okay? Also, I know that I can go back in and reinforce the structure around the edges and also in the interior if I need to. So here I've added a new thread. I'm using a doubled length of Coats & Clark's hand quilting thread as usual, because I like it. I know a lot of you guys don't, but then again, some of you do. So you're using the thread of your choice, and that's fine. I've got a size 10 beading needle. My thread is about, I'm going to say, a good 22 inches long. I may not be able to get around the entire perimeter with it, but that's okay. So I have inserted the needle through a wall bead here, right? And I know that I have to circle around this ring of 6 beads here, and then this ring of 4 beads here, then this ring of 4 beads here, then this ring of 6 beads here, and so on and so forth, okay? Your only goal is to circle around each ring once or 1.5 times, whatever you have to do, okay? Navigating around any beads that may be full of thread. But as I said before, the edges are nice because a lot of these beads are not full of thread yet. They'll get full of thread as we reinforce them, but right now they're generally pretty open. It's usually pretty clear sailing, okay? So I have trouble, as I've mentioned in past videos, remembering, am I going this way or am I going this way? Which way am I going? And then I often flip the structure upside down, back and forth like that, and then I really forget. So I'm going to try to hold the structure with the tail end of the thread facing up, okay? This could get hard. When I have to, I will flip the structure on its side, but let's get started. And I'm going to do my best to stitch to the right, all right? Around the perimeter, around the edges. Okay, well, we've stitched around this square, this cube, this side of this cube. That's great. Now we're going to navigate to this ring, to the next cube, actually to the next side of this cube, which is also a ring of 4 beads. Okay, let's go through here, go down through here, go through here, go through. Oh, can't go up through there. Oh, this looks like it is. Yeah, we can't go through this one. All right, fine. No, we don't have to. What are our options? We could navigate back through here and here. Let's test. We could probably do it. I think we can do it. So we're still trying to navigate to the right without cracking any beads. I don't know, that's just too risky. So, all right, what could we do here? Let's go back through the same bead, right? Since we know it's relatively open. And maybe we're not going to fully reinforce it. Maybe we're going to partially reinforce this one, you know? Here, we could sort of almost reinforce it all the way. Here's a little trick. I'm sure you know this. Go through this bead. Make sure you can't go through. Oh, maybe we could go through this bead. If we go the opposite way. Okay, we could. I'll show you that trick some other time. I was just going to loop around this thread and then head back through the bead I came out of. All right, can we go here? All right, these holes are definitely filling full of thread, but they'll be okay. All right, now I'm going to reinforce this ring of 6 beads. Okay. All right, so basically this ring of 6 beads is pretty much reinforced. Looking good. We can go down through here again if we want to. And what do we have? We have a ring of 4 beads here. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more with you and then let you finish the rest, because this is pretty straightforward work. Okay, so this ring is now reinforced. Let's navigate over to the next one and reinforce the next one, right? Which is this one. We're reinforcing. We finish this one, we're reinforcing this one, okay? Okay, that's looking pretty reinforced. Let's go down through this one again. Go through this one. Up through this one. Over. Down. Oops, caught the thread. There we go. All right, and what are we going to do next here? We're going to circle around the beads in this ring of 6 beads here. Then move to the 4, the 4, the 6, and so on, okay? I'm going to let you guys do that. And when you're all done doing that, if you want to, if you feel it's necessary, you can take a size 12 needle if you're using glass beads, or probably a size 10 if you're using metal beads, and stitch around, you know, fill in any missing reinforcement, you know, until the structure is as tight as you would like it to be, right? That's optional. If I were making this piece to sell, I would definitely extra reinforce if I felt it were necessary, as long as I wasn't going to break a bead, okay? And so your 16 by 9 by 12 Ren is finished, or will be finished when you go all the way around the perimeter, okay? So our next project is going to be to make this Ren wearable, if you want it to be wearable, not this particular one, but we're going to learn how to make a Ren wearable. Now, see, this is really quite a big structure here, but is it too big to wear as a pendant? What if you just strung it through a neck wire? You'd have to extra reinforce this guy. String it through a neck wire like this, and you've got kind of a neat necklace element, a neat pendant, okay? Just one idea. We'll cover that again in a future video. Congratulations, you finished your first 16 by 9 by 12 Ren. Whether you made it in Czech Fire Polish beads or some other beads, I hope you really enjoyed the process of learning this structure. I also hope you go on to create other types of lattices. I haven't published this one yet, but I will in the near future. It's a completely different kind of lattice, not a Ren. Don't have a name for it yet even, but I made it in sterling silver bugle beads, and it's really pretty. There's also this one, which is completely asymmetrical, organic, free form, also a joy to make, also made in sterling silver bugle beads. Anyway, a little preview of coming attractions here, but my overall point is I really hope you'll go on to design your own types of lattices, double-sided, who knows what, multi-sided. The sky's the limit when it comes to beading, as you know, and that's why we love it, right? So thank you for taking this course, and I'll see you in the next course. Bye.